Welcome to the Prepped and Polished podcast, the podcast that empowers you to take control of your education. Featuring weekly interviews with influencers in the world of education, as well as tutoring tips, lessons, and updates.
Hi everyone, welcome to another Tutoring Tips episode of the Prepped and Polished podcast. It's Anooj of Prepped and Polished. Please be sure to check out our website, www.preppedandpolished.com, for more info. While you're there, sign up for our free tutoring and test preps tips newsletter. It comes out monthly. You can join our Prepped and Polished community on Facebook and Twitter. Just search for Prepped and Polished. You can also submit a question during the show or after to radio@preppedandpolished.com. We love hearing from you. All right, let's get right to it. So, how to get a 5 on the AP United States history exam. So, tip number 1 is what I'm going to give you is create a timeline. What you want to do is build a timeline for basically all of United States history. Start from the very beginning, and on your timeline have intervals of about 10 years and start writing down every major event that occurred during that time, every person, place, or thing that's related to that time. Chronologically organizing all of this information and doing it yourself is going to give you just a better overview of United States history, and it's going to improve your ability to retrieve information on test day, especially when you're doing those essays. Tip number 2. Tip number 2 is going to be practicing DBQs and FRQs. Now remember that over 50% of your score is determined by just these. So you really want to get the essays down pat. You really want to be confident in doing them. And what I like to think, like the essays section, what I think is the best way to prepare for them is just knowing your facts. Because the opinions, they're going to change. You're going to read the test prompt and you're going to come up with your own opinion while you're seeing the different DBQ pieces or the specific FRQ question. But the facts and evidence are always going to be the same. So what you want to do is use these different evidence and facts and people, figures, things like that to kind of shape your opinions. So use them. You got to have those down, and then you can kind of make your opinions on the spot. And to get them on the spot, what you want to do is go through the old exams and just practice reading the DBQ, reading the FRQ, and give yourself like 5 to 10 minutes, and in your head just come up with what you would write. Come up with the opinions, come up with what are you going to use to support those opinions. And you'll see that a lot of the timeline work that you've already done is going to help you sort of come up with these answers. And if you're having trouble, if it's gone like 20 minutes, like I can't think of anything to support this argument, then that means you need to come up with a more detailed timeline or go to that specific prompt, right? Write that down and research more about it. Go in your test prep book or your textbook and get more details, information about it. So if it's a certain period like the Civil War era, you want to get more facts and things and just, write down different people, things, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, whatever comes to your head, you want to have them ready. So on test day, you're writing those essays well. And as long as you're supporting those arguments with lots of facts and details, it's going to sound like you know what you're talking about, and the grader is going to give you a good score. So tip number 3. Tip number 3, I want to emphasize doing well in the AP United States history class. It's a beast of a class. There's a lot of content, and it's sometimes overwhelming. And the thing is, when you're reviewing for the exam, the actual exam, you don't want to be learning new things for the first time. You want to have already seen all this material before. This is your second run through of the material, maybe even third or fourth if you've taken a final exam for the course. And what you want to do is just read through the prep book, skim through it and not absorb all the details, but kind of get the bigger picture. That way on test day, you'll see that, you'll be writing the essays a lot quicker because you just have a rough idea. You want to have like a nice thumbnail sketch of what's going on for each period or each concept or what have you. So do well in the AP class, and if you're not, don't be alarmed about that, because when you start reviewing for the exam, you're going to start learning things a lot better than you did the first time, and you'll do better on the test that way. Tip number 4 are flashcards. I don't recommend building your own flashcards. You'll have so many flashcards and it's going to take you so much time to build them that you won't have time to review them. The most important thing that comes from flashcards is actively recalling the information. You see the flashcard and now you've got to think on the spot about the answer. Once all your flashcard says, who is this or what is this person, you got to come up with what that event is. And when you're doing that, that's when the learning happens. So I'd go on Amazon, buy a set of flashcards, and during breaks in school, at lunch, on the bus, before soccer practice, whatever, just run through the flashcards. Do as many as you can and as often as you can, and you'll see that the events, dates, people, the different acts, bills, they'll all start coming to you, And then on the essay prompt, you'll start generating those facts a lot quicker, and you'll generate more of them, and it'll help you support even more arguments. And repetition here is going to be the key to really building that strong foundation. So there you have it. Those are 4 simple tips on how to get a 5 on the AP United States History exam. This wraps up our show. Episode number 103, how to get a 5 on the AP United States History exam. Be on the lookout for our next podcast, number 104, our next interview guest episode. Remember to access all of our podcast episodes. Go to www.preppedandpolished.com/podcast. Thanks for joining us on the Prepped and Polished podcast. Now go out there and take control of your education.
You've been listening to the Prepped and Polished podcast. For more information, check out preppedandpolished.com. Also, you can follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Thanks for listening. Class dismissed.